Now, it's time for our ass hat of the week.
Yo, we got some hats now, motherfuckers.
And our ass hat of the week this week is none other than the fucking NRA, right? So, full disclosure, your man Spann at one point was a card-carrying member of the National Rifle Association, man. And one of the reasons why I joined the NRA, it was shortly after I was arrested in Chicago for the gun charge, where the Chicago police pulled me over. And, you know, if you listen to this podcast, you've heard the story. Like, I was in Chicago driving and police pulled me over looking for my gun. Gun's not in the car with me. I left it in my luggage in my grandmother's home. Told the police where it was at. They went and got it, arrested me. And yeah, that happened 6 years ago. This month that happened, right? So I joined the NRA because there was an arm of the NRA. I think it was some sort of the defense organization where, you know, they would provide attorneys, they would provide funding for attorneys so that you could fight gun charges, right? And that was one of the reasons why I joined the NRA. It was also around the time where the NRA was fighting the Chicago handgun ban, right? There's a case that was brought before the Supreme Court. It was Otis McDonald versus the city of Chicago, and it was fighting the city of Chicago's handgun ban. Otis McDonald was an older man. It was an older black gentleman who wanted to have a handgun in his home to defend it, but the city ordinance provided that he could not have a handgun. The only guns he was permitted to have was a long rifle. And he said that, like, a long rifle for someone in his position and his condition was a little unwieldy for him. He would much prefer to have a handgun in his home. And so the NRA got behind Otis McDonald, and Otis McDonald, that case went all the way to the Supreme Court, and they won. City of Chicago's handgun ban was deemed unconstitutional, and now the citizens of the city of Chicago can buy handguns, right? Now, one of the reasons why it's interesting, and I like, as I look back on a whole lot of these were things that I was missing when I was a member of the NRA, man. As much as, like, I am still someone who believes in the Second Amendment and someone who exercises that amendment daily. But the NRA's purpose isn't necessarily to fight for civil rights of gun owners. It is to sell guns. And one of the reasons, I didn't catch this at the time, I was missing it completely when I was a member and when all these things were going on. I was missing it completely. But the whole thing with Otis McDonald was to be able to sell guns. If they were able to get the handgun ban deemed unconstitutional in Chicago, then guess what? There's a whole bunch of people in Chicago that are go buy guns. Handguns in particular. Now the legal people who've been wanting to buy handguns can go out and do it. And the gun manufacturers benefit, right? But then the story of Philando Castile comes up, who's doing it the right way, who's licensed to carry, who gets killed by the state, by the police for carrying a concealed weapon, and trying to exercise that right the right way. And the NRA was silent on it, didn't say a motherfucking thing about it. And one of the things about this was, I've seen people, I've even seen NRA members say, why would the NRA say anything? Why should they say anything? Was Philando Castile even a member? And he wasn't. But that's not the point. Otis McDonald was not a member of the NRA either when the NRA decided that they wanted to take up his case all the way up to the fucking Supreme Court. They didn't have any problem speaking up on behalf of a black man when it was going to further their agenda of having sold more guns. Had no problem speaking up then. The silence now is deafening, because at the end of the day, if it's really about a civil rights organization, civil rights and the rights of if someone's Second Amendment right is being violated, as we all saw on video, and the NRA says nothing, then it's really not about the civil rights of Americans. It's a gun lobby. It's about selling more guns, right? So what happened, and why am I talking about the NRA today? The reason I'm talking about the NRA today is because the NRA put out this video with Dana Loesch, who's a right-wing pundit. I think she has a show on Fox News. But hold on, let me see if I can pull this up. I'm sorry. Just a second. All right. So the NRA puts out this ad, and it's a minute long, and it has Dana Loesch in it. And here it is. I'm going to just go ahead and play this.
They use their media to assassinate real news. They use their schools to teach children that their president is another Hitler. They use their movie stars and singers and comedy shows and award shows to repeat their narrative over and over again. And then they use their ex-president to endorse the resistance, all to make them march, make them protest, make them scream racism and sexism and xenophobia and homophobia, to smash windows, burn cars, shut down interstates and airports, bully and terrorize the law-abiding, until the only option left is for the police to do their jobs and stop the madness. And when that happens, they'll use it as an excuse for their outrage. The only way we stop this, the only way we save our country and our freedom, is to fight this violence of lies with the clenched fist of truth. I'm the National Rifle Association of America, and I'm freedom's safest place.
All right. Now, a couple questions that I got is, who is this mysterious they that they're talking about? Who are they? They use their ex-president. They use their Hollywood stars. They use their media. Who is who is the cabal of the they? Who are they? Who is she referring to? Right? Another thing, like she talks about, they call you homophobic. They call you racist. They call you Islamophobic. Excuse me. All to get you all ginned up. They get these people ginned up. And now all of a sudden, it's interesting. This is an interesting turn of events, considering all of a sudden the people who are on the left, the people who Donald Trump supporters call snowflakes, the people whom Donald Trump supporters and a lot of people on the right would mock for needing safe spaces, all of a sudden these same people are now unhinged, violent, need to be checked people. How did that turn of events happen? How did all of a sudden those with the guns need protecting from the snowflakes, from the safe place needing people? How did that happen? How did we get here? You know what happened? This is what happened. For a lot of years, man, for the entire presidency of Barack Obama, the NRA was selling a lot of people on the idea that Barack Obama and Hillary Clinton are out to take your guns away from you. I used to get this shit in the mail all the time, and it was basically solicitations for donations. The NRA has been operating as a scare, a propaganda arm for the Republican Party for a long time. And like I said, I saw this and I would throw those shits in the trash. Like I wouldn't even after I read it, I'd throw it in the trash. I never donated money to the NRA. I was simply a member, and I never really got any benefits from it. The only thing I think I benefited from, I got this flashlight from the NRA. Yeah, I got this flashlight with my membership one year. That's it. $215 in 7 years, and that's all I got with this funky ass flashlight, right? So the NRA puts this ad out, and they're trying to convince people that those who are fighting for civil rights, those who are fighting for the marginalized people in America, gays, blacks, Muslims, Hispanics, like they're trying to convince you that they need protection from you. They're trying to demonize you. And so they sold this idea that Barack Obama was trying to take your guns away. Hillary Clinton was trying to take your guns away. We went through 8 years of Barack Obama, and guess what? Everybody that had their guns before still got them. Hillary Clinton is not about to be president. You know what happened to gun sales after the scare that Barack Obama was going to take away your guns, and Hillary Clinton is about to be president and she's going to try to take up the mantle to take away your guns? You know what happened? Nobody was buying guns. Nobody was buying guns. So the play here is that we got to get these people scared some more. We got to get these people scared again. We have to give them a new villain to fight. And in order to get them this new villain to fight, we got to demonize everybody who does not think like us. We got to make sure that we get all of these people who think that they're threatened by the latte sipping, safe place needing snowflakes. We got to protect ourselves from them. You know, we just saw Donald Trump supporters going to a Starbucks to buy coffee to protest what happened to a Donald Trump supporter because they simply wrote "build a wall" on a fucking cup. But this particular ad, man, this is the reason why the NRA is the asset of the week this week. This particular ad is so fucking over the top. It's so far gone that you can only look at it as if it's right wing, racist, violence inducing propaganda. There's no other way to look at it. No other way to look at it. And as a person who used to be a member of the NRA, I will say this. There's a lot of people who simply want to exercise their right to the Second Amendment, right? I was one of those people who was an NRA member. I'm not proud of it. You know what I'm saying? Like I said, there was a whole lot of things about the NRA that I just simply wasn't. I was given a blind eye to. But when you're aware of what's going the fuck on, you got, like, when you know better, you do better. And goddamn it, I've not renewed my membership. I've never donated to the NRA. I am ashamed that I was ever affiliated with the motherfucking NRA. It's sickening to a lot of gun owners. I'll say that. It's sickening to a lot of gun owners because that's not necessarily the message that a lot of gun owners are out here about. And for them to put this, like, they can put this shit out. They can talk about your need to, like they could talk about the protest at airports and shutting down of freeways, and they could talk about the what some would deem riots after extrajudicial killings by the police officers across this country. They can talk about that, but they couldn't say a word about Philando Castile's rights being violated by that cop. They couldn't say shit. And that's the galling part. That's the galling part. And that's why the NRA are the asshats of the week right here on the Spann Report.
Yo, we got some hats now, motherfuckers.